What's going on, guys? It's Friday. We got some X-Wing news, and it's the M12-L Kimogila fighter, as I like to call it, the Kimogila, because we can argue all day about how to pronounce it. I like to call it the Kimogila, just because Kimogila sounds funnier to me. So let's jump right into this. So not a whole lot of new stuff, but we did, it's still an article. So they didn't give us the dial for this ship today, so that's a little kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. I do see that there's a red 4K, and that just leads me to speculate that it's going to be very similar to an X-Wing's dial. I don't expect it to be super maneuverable because of the Bullseye firing arc. And just in case you weren't familiar, the Bullseye firing arc is basically a range ruler that you're going to line up with the two nubs. You're going to put straight ahead, and if somebody hits that, they're in it. This TIE fighter is not in it. This is the image that FFG put out, and it's also kind of skewed. It's not like a perfect triangle. It's a little out there, but yes. But yeah, when they're in there, and of course we have a reference card. So in case you forgot, basically the Bullseye firing arc by default means that people who are in there cannot spend focus to modify results or evade tokens to add evade results. So this is interesting because, as somebody brought up on the FFG forums, and I think they made a good point, this is not a title that's giving this thing the Bullseye firing arc. And that kind of opens up the door for other ships to potentially have a Bullseye firing arc, because if all you need to do to measure it is to put that range ruler in your front guides, then any ship can draw it with accuracy, right? But I want to know what you guys think. Do you think that's something that they'll open up to other ships that don't already have the printed Bullseye firing arc on there? Or do you think they're going to keep it strictly with this ship? Do you think eventually we'll see other ships gain that? I think it would be a cool idea to be able to give other ships a Bullseye. I think Tech could potentially do that. We might see that with like Kylo Ren's silencer or something like that. But I'm curious what you guys think. But let's go on to what we did get shown today. So our cheapest ship card, I'm going to do all the ship cards first, is this PS3. There's no EPT on it, but at only 22 points, we have a really cheap ship that is not quite as tough as the old Jumpmaster used to be, but does have pretty much all that stuff that Jumpmasters used to have, right? You've got your missile, you've got your torpedo, you've got a salvage astromech, and your illicit. Potentially do even more damage if you line up your shots right. So I think one of the things that this could do is this could make a skilled player even more dangerous than they were with Jumpmasters, which is kind of gives me cause for concern a little bit, because I'm like, all right, are we just going to see everybody flying Kimogilas now? And I don't know if that's going to happen or not, because I think, like I said, it's going to take a little bit more skill, so I don't think it's going to run as rampant. It's not like everybody can just net list this and have the same amount of success. So on that point, maybe it's a good thing, but 22 points is awfully cheap. We have some of our named pilots here. So we've got DeLano Burroughs, and here he is at 25 points, which is still cheap for a named. And he has a different ability. So the interesting thing about this guy is DeLano Burroughs was already just released last week, or yesterday if you're in Orlando, because a lot of cool stuff, for example, just got them in yesterday. With this whole shipping and single distributor thing, I think is nuts. But anyway, regardless of that, I don't know if it was Alliance's fault or if it was somebody else's fault, but I'm not crazy about potential delays in the future. But if you've got guns for hire already, you already have DeLano Burroughs, and he's a Star Viper pilot. And this is interesting because this is the first time we're seeing totally different. Well, I guess it's not the first time because Poe had a different skill, but it's interesting. We're seeing just a blatant change in pilot skill and a totally different pilot ability. Because the Star Viper was a PS6, and he's got that Signor's Loop, that maneuverability ability, and here DeLano Burroughs has pilot skill 7, and at the start of the combat phase you may acquire a target lock on an enemy ship inside your Bullseye firing arc at range 1 to 3. Now, one thing that's kind of interesting is also that this is a higher pilot skill, and it's a cheaper pilot. That's an interesting thing because, you know, your Star Viper, Dalen, is 30 points. So a whole bunch of interesting precedents here. I almost wonder if it was supposed to be a different name, and this name got thrown on there by mistake. I don't know, but that's just surprising to me. But yes, so I like this pilot. You know, again, this is really rewarding skilled piloting, and I think it's going to make it maybe another drawback for people flying large ships, because you have such a larger base. You have a much better chance of actually being in that bullseye firing arc. I think small ships are going to be the winner here. Larger ships are going to be kind of the loser when going up against these guys. However, large ships are usually less reliant on spending a focus to modify dice results and spending the evade token. Certain large ships. I think honestly the biggest loser here is probably going to be, you know, the Slave 1. I've seen, you know, a lot of times I've seen people have pretty good, you know, builds using a Slave 1 and counting on that evade. Not the Slave 1, just a Fire Spray 31. Doesn't have to be the Slave 1. But Fire Sprays are you know, they can make pretty good use of both of those, the focus and the evade. So this is, you know, this could be seen as damaging to a ship that already wasn't in a bad, or that was already kind of in a bad place. So I'm curious, you know, how that will pan out once people start playing it. And if any of you really like to play Fire Sprays, I wonder how you feel about a Bullseye Firing Arc effectively shutting down your defense. But yes, so basically if they're there, you also can get a free target lock on them, which basically is great, especially if you're trying to launch some ordnance. But not even if you're not, even if you just want to be a pilot skill 25, a PS7, or maybe a 26-point PS9 with Veteran Instincts. You know, all you have to do is focus, and then you're gonna potentially have your target lock for free. It's pretty nice, pretty nice. All right. And then we got our PS8 here, Taurani Cold, 27 points. Still not too expensive for a PS8 with 3 attack, and you know, 8 hull is pretty good for a small ship. After you perform an attack, each enemy ship inside your Bullseye Firing Arc at range 1 to 3 must choose to suffer a damage or remove all of its focus and evade tokens. Now, remove all, if it doesn't have any, technically it can still remove all, but this is going to be really damaging towards, you know, that TIE swarm that everybody's got their focuses, or, you know, along with all your other ships. And this is great that he's so high pilot skill. I think you definitely want to bump this guy up to pilot skill 10 to potentially strip all those PS9 tokens, but to strip the Soontir Fel of his focuses, because he's not going to want to take a damage, right? So that's something. So after you perform an attack, each enemy ship inside. So this includes the person you just attacked. It doesn't say each other enemy ship. So each ship inside your firing arc. So that's really nice. It'll be harder to make it work, and a lot of times they'll just, you know, choose to remove all their stuff. I would imagine a simple counter to this would be to do things like take a target lock. And then this way you don't have to worry about removing any focus or evade tokens. And of course this isn't going to do anything against like ships that can get their focus and evade things other ways. Like if somebody has popped Glitter Stim, or if you got like a Kian Farlander on there who you know, who can just spend a stress to do his focusing. So those things aren't going to be affected. But for a lot of those ships that are out there, this is going to affect them. And I think it's pretty nice. I think it's pretty nice indeed. All right, so let's see who else we've got. So we got a title for our Kimogila, and that's Enforcer. And it costs 1, it's unique, so this isn't like one of those titles you can put on all of them. After defending, if the attacker is inside your Bullseye Firing Arc, it receives a stress token. So not bad. Not bad at all. Just kind of makes people less likely to want to shoot you. I like it. It's just it seems like it's just a solid title, nothing too overpowered. One thing I like about this is that it's not restricted to if they already have a stress or if they don't have a stress token. So like unlike your things like Mara Jade, for example, which would just, you know, oh, if they don't have one, everybody gets one. If they don't have it, this can potentially give them 2. So like this and maybe Rebel Captive or something like that, you know. Potentially things like that might be fun. well, you can't put Rebel Captive on here, but you know, you split them up, so whoever you attack, you're going to get stress. Things like that is an interesting way you might want to consider this, but it's not a bad little title, and it's cheap, so that's good, and it's a good thing it's unique too. And I think the last card we're going to look at is Contraband Cybernetics. Now the art on this is pretty interesting. At first glance, I thought this was like an early Darth Maul when he was in the spider. It's obviously not. It's not him. But I was thinking, boy, that looks a little bit like Darth Maul as like a cyborg Maul or something like that. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah. So this is an illicit. It only costs 1, and it says when you become the active ship during the activation phase, you may discard this card and receive a stress token. If you do, until the end of the round, you may perform actions and red maneuvers even while you are stressed. Now, that's pretty good. This seems like it's good for from like a last ditch effort kind of thing. Like if you think you're going to die, you might as well go ahead and do this. Go ahead and like surprise them with that K turn, or just having this on. You're not really going to be able to surprise them that much, but I think just having this on gives you you know, that unpredictability and can kind of play mind games with your opponents. But I do think, you know, this is nice, especially if somebody does decide to stress you out. You have that, you know what, forget it. Forget it. I'm not gonna need to worry about actions or maneuvers this turn. The only real limitation here is if you get a crit that says, you know, well, I was going to say that if you get the crit that says after you do a white maneuver you get a stress token, but that doesn't stop you from doing a white maneuver. I think the only thing that could stop you at that point is the things if you can't do straight maneuvers, you can't be assigned straight maneuvers. So, but that, you know, I don't think that's really going to matter. So this kind of just lets you say forget it all, and I think this is good on a high pilot skill. This way you're going to make sure they are going to get to shoot and well, hopefully, unless they're blocked. Blocking still shuts you down here too. But make sure they get to shoot and get to take their action, even if they're somehow hurting. I think I've seen a little more. I've had some success with using ions a lot more lately, just to shut down the NIM, the NIM bombing stuff. And I think one of the combos that really is nasty with ions is if you get stressed and ionized, you don't do a green maneuver, so you can't clear your stress, so you end up being perpetually stuck, and this would be a way that you could potentially weasel out of that as well. So that one is interesting. But yeah, so that is that's everything we got here for the Kimogila. It's an interesting looking ship. I kind of like it. I do like the look of the ship as a whole, although I think it's going to be a prime ship for repainting, which brings me to another point. If you are a painter, you're interested in painting, you like to repaint your X-Wing ships or any other FFG product, I am having a giveaway on Crabbok.com right now. There's a contest, a painting contest. So I'm going to put a link to that in the at the end of this video. But basically, I'm giving away a Legion core set or gift card. Well, basically a gift card to Miniature Market for a Legion core set, but you can do whatever you want with it. Doesn't have to be Legion. You can spend it on X-Wing if you want, but check it out, enter it out, or even if you're not a painter, go over there and look at all the. We've got some fantastic submissions so far, and it's running all the way up until Thanksgiving, so there's plenty of time for you to get your entry in. And let me know what you think of the Kimogila, guys. Do you think they're going to potentially ever add the Bullseye firing arc to another ship? I think it would be kind of cool if they did, but I don't think it's really necessary, at least not yet. But let me know what you think. I'd love to hear more about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and let me know in the comments below what you think about the Bullseye firing arc. And check out Crabbok.com and check out the forums over there. I've got some guides. I've been adding stuff all the time, so the site's always growing. But yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. All right.